Welcome practitioner Vance Gardiner, who will be conducting the rest of the service and is bringing us this message this morning of hope and light and love. Vance?
Thanks, Carol. Welcome, everyone. Welcome those who are joining us online, and to those who are watching us delayed later on YouTube. So again, welcome, everyone. It is said that if the mountain won't come to Muhammad, so that since we cannot come to service today, we are bringing the service to you. I'm remembering a pastor who saw a letter on his desk. So he opened the envelope, FOOL. So he went to his secretary and said, I got an autograph. I saw somebody only signed their autograph. They signed FOOL. Do you know who is this fool? I would really love to meet this person. He looked at the letter on his desk in a different light. Of course, it couldn't be referring to him. It must be the person signing his name, so that he's showing his appreciation for the work that the pastor has been doing. Wayne Dwyer said, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at also change. Deb Shapiro, in our book, Your Body Speaks Your Mind, tell us that respiratory illnesses are an indication of a mental cause of repression of emotions, thoughts that need to be expressed, or they are an expression of too much busyness. And when I read this, it made me look at what is happening with this COVID-19 pandemic in a very different light. And you know what came to me? The words that we were just singing in this hymn of how Spirit speaks to us through all that is happening around us in its own mysterious ways. So I want to just go through some of the verses of this hymn again, and I'm going to ask my beautiful assistant, Carol, to just lead us through these verses again. Wow, the beauty of thy peace. That is what Spirit is telling us today. So thank you, Carol, and everyone who joined her in singing that song. Spirit always finds a way to tell us what we need to hear when we need to hear it, and let us know what we need to know when we need to know it. And things look different when we see them through the eyes of Spirit. We see them in a different light. The Bible tells us in 2 Samuel 12 that the prophet Nathan went to David to have counsel with him. Nathan said to David, there were two men in one city, one rich and the other poor. The rich man had exceedingly a large herd of cattle and a large flock. But the poor man had nothing but a little lamb that he really cherished, that he nourished, and he grew up with his children. And he really was attached to this lamb. And a traveler came to the rich man, who, when entertaining the traveler, refused to take from his flock. He took the one little lamb that the poor man had. And when David heard this, he was angry, very angry. And he said to Nathan, as the Lord lives, the man who did this shall surely die. And he shall restore fourfold to the man the value of his lamb, because he did this thing and he had no pity. Then Nathan said to David, you are that man. Friends, anything that affects us with strong emotion, it is within us. And emotions tells us what we need to release and what we need to heal. So David represents that consciousness, the highest consciousness within us. Or what the Rastafarians would say, he represents the Christ in its kingly character within us. So when the parable shows us that when thoughts, emotion, and impulses lead us astray, that is that traveler that comes to us, we should entertain the traveler from our highest consciousness, consciousness of abundance, consciousness of love, consciousness of peace, and not do like David, who entertained the traveler from a consciousness of lust and a consciousness of fear. However, we may fall at times, but our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. And this is said by Confucius. So the law of mind, the law of cause and effect, applies to us all. And we reap the consciousness of what we sow. But God is available to us to see things in a different light. I read several interpretations of this scripture, but our assistant minister here at the Temple of Light Center for Spiritual Living in Kingston, Jamaica, Reverend Ann Shand, explained to me that this passage, 2 Samuel 12, is a lesson in prayer. After Nathan told David the consequence of his action, David went into all forms of supplication. But Nathan told him that his first child with Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah, which David had sent to die so that he could get Bathsheba as his wife, that the first child would die. So David went into all forms of supplication to try to change this, but the child still died. And this shows us what Ernest Holmes, teacher, the founder of the Science of Mind and Spirit, this teaching tells us that we should not go to prayer carrying our worries, our discord, because prayer is answered in the consciousness in which it is delivered. And this awareness came to David. So after recognizing that the child had died, David then came to himself, and he became joyful and festive again. And David's kingdom expanded. He now became king not only of Judah, but of the entire Israel. So God expanded his territory as his consciousness rose. And David and Bathsheba had a second child, Solomon. the coming of wisdom into his life and into his experience. So that one of the things that I learned from this story also was something that Emily Fletcher, the teacher of Ziva meditation, says, that guilt is really a useless emotion. And that we should really release give. What we can do is forgive and atone, but we should never carry around guilt with us. You know, friends, whatever we see in others is also in us. Also, the things we appreciate and admire in others is also within us. We just need to see ourselves in a different light. The only difference between you and the greatest being who have walked among mankind are the thoughts you allow to occupy your mind. This is a verse from one of my favorite poets, Kirk Nugent, a Jamaican who is residing in New York now. He may be seeing that decision in a different light right now. But one of my favorite stories of seeing things in a different light is a story told by Coach Glenn Mills of his journey with Usain Bolt. Now, Usain Bolt came to Glenn Mills to guide his career after he came back from a world championship where he finished last in the 200 meters final. And many people were saying that he was a flash in the pan, that he was a junior who probably wouldn't excel in the senior level. But Coach Mills saw Bolt in a different light. He saw Bolt as potentially the greatest 200, 400-meter runner the world will ever see. So he communicated this to Bolt. But Bolt didn't really see it that way at first. So Bolt said, let us concentrate on the 200 meters. So Bolt started to train with 200 meters, but certain bad habits die hard. As Coach Mills told us, he carried Bolt to a track meet at G.C. Falster College. So when he's looking at the start of the race, there is no Bolt. So he asked the people, where is Bolt? They said, oh, we saw him going on a bus to Trelawney when he should be running here today. However, Coach Mills stuck around with Bolt because he saw the potential. And to cut the long story short, at the next World Championship, Bolt came second in the 200 meters behind Tyson Gay. But something remarkable happened. The Jamaican team substituted Bolt in the 4x100 meters relay. Now, Bolt did not run the 100 at our trials, and normally you have to run the 100 at our trials to be placed on the relay team. The relay team came second, and after discussing it amongst themselves, they realized that if they had more time to practice, they could have won. But Bolt learned something at that time. He was looking at the race, and he realized that Adasafa Powell remained relaxed throughout the race. He could beat any runner in the world. And Bolt looked at himself and said, but I can beat Asafa. So he went back to Coach Mills, and he said, I want to do the 100. So Coach Mills said, okay, let us see. But if you do not succeed at the 100, then we'll go back to our original plan of you doing the 200 and the 400. Well, we know the rest is history. 3 consecutive Olympic double sprint championships, many relay medals, relay world record. And we know Bolt is the fastest man in history. You see, spirit is knowing itself through each and one of us. And spirit, when it wants to experience speed, chose Bolt because Bolt was ready. when we are ready for life, life is always ready for us. But we have to be prepared. Some of you may say that, how does this apply to me? These are gifted people. You know, David, gifted by God. Bolt, obviously, an extremely gifted athlete. So how does this apply to me? Well, Spirit makes no mistake. And Spirit always gives us examples to show us that when we see ourselves in a different light, anything is possible. And I remember the story of Helen Keller. Now, Helen Keller suffered from visual, verbal, and she was also hearing impaired. But Helen Keller was able to inspire millions of people through her life and through the lectures that she gave when she taught herself how to speak. Amazing indeed. You know, she became the first person in the United States to attain a Bachelor of Arts degree while suffering all of these challenges. She attained a Bachelor of Arts degree from Radcliffe College of Harvard University. Now, this is not anything that is easy for anyone to even get into Radcliffe College, which is the alma mater of people like Hillary Clinton, and much less to attain the degree with honors like Helen Keller. So this is an amazing accomplishment, even for people with no physical challenges, much less somebody who is experiencing what Helen Keller had to go through. And just to show you some of the impact that she had, a reporter, in describing one of Helen Keller's lecture, said that according to those who attended, Helen Keller spoke of the joy that life gave her. She was thankful for the faculties and abilities that she did possess, and stated that the most productive pleasures she had were curiosity and imagination. Keller spoke of the joy of service and the happiness that came from doing things for others. Keller imparted that helping your fellow men was the only excuse for being here in this world, and doing things to help one fellows laid the secret of lasting happiness. She told of the joys of loving work and accomplishment, and the happiness of achievement. And although the entire lecture lasted only a little over an hour, the lecture had a profound impact on everyone who was there. And Helen Keller's life had a profound impact upon me, especially our championing of women's rights, of the rights of workers, and the rights of people who are physically challenged. So therefore, although the means of mass communication sometimes does not portray to us information of our achievement under times of stress, also remember there's always a sports page, and there are always stories that tells about our great accomplishments. And from anyone can do it, we also can do it. We just need to see ourselves in a different light and be ready for life when life is ready for us. The story of Michael Jackson was told in a documentary called This Is It by Kenny Ortega. And he told that Michael Jackson would call him at all hours of the night and tell him, write this down, write this down. And Kenny Ortega was saying, why? This is 2 o'clock in the morning. Why we need to write this down? And Michael Jackson would say, if we don't do it, then Prince is gonna do it. You know, so that So that spirit must be expressed. And if we are not the ones who are ready for it, then it will find someone else. And I remember the story of the last Super Bowl. I know not those of you who follow the NFL may remember that Super Bowl. That it was between the San Francisco 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs. And with 7 minutes to go, it looked like the game was over, that the Chiefs would lose and the 49ers would win. But then the 49ers quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, he then said to himself, he remembered what Deshaun Watson, the quarterback of the Houston Texans, said to himself in a situation similar to what he was in. Somebody is going to be great today. Why not me? The next 7 minutes is legendary in the history of the NFL. They said I've never seen quarterback play like Mahomes demonstrated, which surely sealed him being now regarded as the greatest player in the NFL right now. He took the Chiefs from a losing situation to win the game fairly easily by some amazing quarterback play, because he changed the way how he looked at the situation. He realized that this was his moment. This was his time. Emily Fletcher, one of the most famous proponents of meditation, tells us through meditation and listening to the still small voice and answering 4 questions, we can find our divine gift and align ourselves with the flow of spirit unfolding as us. And I remember last week, our pastor here at the Temple of Light Center for Spiritual Living, Reverend John Scott, reminding us that prayer and meditations are sanitizers for the soul. And one of the first questions that Emily said we need to ask ourselves in this time is, what is the most pressing need of this time that resonates with me? I don't know if people may be writing it down, or we may see these questions coming up in the chat accompanying this stream. The second question is, what are my unique gifts, and how do my gifts serve the need of this time? The third is, which of these gifts I want to use? And the fourth, what can I do right now using this or these gifts? So it's a call to journal on these questions after you have meditated, and put yourself where you can hear that still small voice which speaks to us through all times, that speak to us even in a time like this. So that just allow Spirit to show you your path and the part you can play in a time like this. And I remember this song called Glorious, sung by David Archuleta. And he said, just keep listening. And pretty soon, you will start to figure out your part. Everyone plays a piece, and there are melodies in each one of us. Oh, it's glorious. For me, I believe the most pressing need of this time is for mankind to awake to our spiritual magnificence. This is the vision of Centers for Spiritual Living, and it's also my personal vision. I believe one of my gifts is teaching and clarifying and demystifying challenging concepts. I have answered the call to be a practitioner of this teaching, the science of mind and spirit, because it is my burning desire to play my part in the mission of making this world work for all of us. This is now an existential question facing mankind in this time. Spirit is speaking to us through the earthquake, wind, and fire, and the consequences of our mindless activities. Forgive our foolish ways. Reclothe us in our rightful mind, and in thy truth our lives we find, and in deeper reverence, praise. In deeper reverence, praise. Namaste.